Hey guys, how's it going? It's Invicta TV here, and I wanted to bring a video today discussing the new Trials map Pantheon. Well, not new map, but this week's map Pantheon, and go into detail with some of the specifics of the map, some tactics and ideas, and overall just how to look at the map so that way you guys have a better chance of making it to the lighthouse this week, perhaps with your friends, perhaps with LFG, perhaps just strengthening yourself so that no matter where you go or who you do it with, you can be the best you can be and perhaps get yourself to the lighthouse. So, without further ado, let's get into some of those specific tactics and ideas. Pantheon is a map that features 3 separate lanes to meet your opponents head on. Each lane features fantastic snipe angles, the first here being the Waterfall path, the second one being the middle path and often chosen path. Very easy to control the middle of the map where the point spawns if you go here first. And last but not least, well actually it is least, the least chosen path is the bottom path, I would call it, the bottom heavy path. Pantheon basically is perfectly symmetrical, so if you're coming from the other spawn, simply mirror my movements to reach the same paths. I'm not going to particularly say which paths are better to choose, I'm simply going to list out strategies that can be associated with each given path. I think this is the fairest way to describe the map and perhaps the tactics, and letting you guys make your own choices because frankly, that all depends on how your opponents are reacting to both your plays and how they initiate their own plays. Let's go ahead and start with the first path that we've shown, the Waterfall path. This lane is primarily a sniper lane, often only being combated by scout rifles, definitely not hand cannons. However, it does have a little stairs way that you can walk up to and perhaps push with hand cannon fights, definitely get closer angles. You just have to be worried about right here. In this moment, somebody can be down at behind that wall back there and snipe you. So it's easier to go for a quick slide across and then continue pushing up on them if that's what you're trying to do. That way you get into real hand cannon range and have the advantage over your opponents. The reason why you need to specifically go for the quick slide or sprint is simply that you want to limit the time that they can take a shot on you, and often changing your your elevation by going in for that slide can be a nice little trick just to guarantee yourself across. Obviously you have to be afraid of people pushing you in this moment. That's why it's wise to open up with some kind of grenade. If you're Blade Dancer, skip grenades are favorable here. Also, if you are Night Stalker, you can place spike grenades on any of the walls here, including up over on this wall right here, to be able to shut them out. Also, a smoke grenade, simply to stop them from maybe pushing against you, can be very devastating. Naturally, lightning grenades would work the same in this case as Night Stalker's spike grenades would, and sticky grenades are always decent. Now, this path also features a little way to head in towards the middle of the map and can be a great spot for pushing into the middle if your opponents are better at securing that spot from the beginning. One of the things you have to look out for, of course, are people playing this bridge right here. The bridge can be pretty dirty for going behind the wall and peek shotting with weapons like hand cannons, specifically Palindrome, of course, with that god roll that came out last week. But there are little spots that, and you also have to watch out for little spots that the opponents can use against you, like right here, this little head glitch they can use against you. I believe there's also a head glitch that they can use up here. If not a specific head glitch, they can at least head glitch the stairs, maybe crouched, standing. They can back up easily. Using spike grenades and smoke grenades on these walls in this area is a great way to shut down your opponent, even just for a time, and really focus on the other two or make them have to pull back entirely. Other than that, that's the base strategy, the base thing to look out for. Using a sniper down this lane is preferable. If you are running sniper, icebreaker, whatever, this is a very strong lane for you in general, especially if your opponents are not. If you are, however, running a sniper, I definitely recommend hand cannon because your opponents can push up close in several moments, and you can obviously take that swap into hand cannon yourself over in this area. However, let's go ahead and shoot over to the middle section so we can kind of break that down a little bit and get into some of the grid of the map and really explore the different strategies there within. Now featuring the middle path, this is one of the most often chosen paths, perhaps more than Waterfall. I'd say it's almost 50-50 though. It does feature an easy special ammo crate to get if you want to play for special, if you're trying to play shotguns, or if you're trying to use a real sniper, unlike a non-ammo regenning sniper. I mean, unlike Icebreaker, then you can easily secure yourself a crate. However, I do want to say that this is a lane where snipers are decent, but using a weapon like Mida or pulse rifles can still be very favorable. If you're using pulse rifle though, you do not want to challenge directly across. A sniper can easily take out a pulse rifle more often than not here. Mida is way better at combating, or perhaps other scout rifles is way better at combating snipers across this lane right here. However, I do want to point out specifically one thing. One of the major pushes of this area is in fact to, as fast as you can from spawn here, we're going to run through here. As fast as you can, hug the left wall. You don't want to be in the angle where snipers can hit you, and immediately jump up to the top middle here, the cube. And this area you can easily get the drop on opponents if they're not being as aggressive, if they're playing a little bit more passive, if they're playing a bit slower. You immediately get into hand cannon range if you favor hand cannons. Mida is still good here at this range as well. If your opponents are pushing up, let's say they're right there on those stairs, right there, you can go ahead and chuck like a lightning grenade, shut them out, great damage. Let's say they're back there over on sniper. You can go ahead and chuck a lightning grenade over there, take out that area, make them regret playing so passive. It's a very, very strong tactic. It's a very strong strategy if you have the advantage, if you have the speed advantage, which you can use with skating. Obviously, you can also use blink if you're playing Blade Dancer to get a good distance towards them before them. Also, running weapons like Mida, if you do want to run Mida on this map, you can easily get up there before your opponents if they're not also doing the same, simply because of that agility bonus. It's something to keep in mind. You need to make sure that your agility is decent compared to your opponents if you want to be able to get there first. That means if you're not the best at Titan skating, and maybe you are playing a class like that isn't as fast, you need to be wary that they might be able to either beat you there or tie you there, in which case jumping like up directly to cube may not be the best. If they can beat you there or tie you there, rather than jumping up, I'd simply walk here, and obviously if they're pushing left, watch left. If they're still playing passive here, you can shoot from right here. Very good spots to use. You can also go around down this way, but you might want to be careful of making a jump peek. You don't want to get sniped or just chip damage in general. Obviously, pushing along right here is one of the weaker paths, but it can trick up your opponents if they are standing over in this area and they're expecting you to go left. Obviously, the idea or the strategy to really overcome your opponents is to play where they're not looking, play where they're not thinking that you'll be. So if you're making it look like you'll push left here, or perhaps a previous round you did so, you can easily push right here, maybe crouch, just to make sure you get a little bit of advantage with your head being lower to the ground, etc. Make yourself a smaller target, maybe not able to be seen from people jumping over there, etc. Yeah, and simply watching out for your opponents being overly aggressive themselves as well. Once more, if people go like behind in that area, and you're from this cube area, nice lightning grenade, skip grenade, really much of anything can make some effective use here. Obviously, in these spots, I favor the sword strategies. If you guys have not seen my sword strategies, I have it up on YouTube. Sword peeking and emoting can be very decent for knowing where your opponents are, especially if you're running sticky grenades. Let's see, I can see him, walking in that area right there. I can just pop out, throw the sticky grenade, pop out, take some shots. It's super easy to be able to read people from this angle. I can even do so here using left. I just want to make sure I do not show myself. That'd be very poor, obviously, to do. Poor form. The last thing I want to show, obviously, I did obviously show the spot. If your opponents push bridge, there's different head glitches you can use. You just got to watch out for good snipers. Good snipers can take those heads off very easily, pushing that angle. But the thing is that you definitely have to push that angle. So if you see on your radar that perhaps somebody's ready to take a peek, running something like Night Stalker, it'd be very advisable to throw down like a smoke grenade ahead of time. Just kind of trap them, maybe get some chip damage in, push them to finish. It's very easy that your opponents can't generally all push at once. So it's very easy to, maybe get a couple shots in, finish a target, and then back off. No need to continue pushing perhaps while you're weak. The only spot I did not show for Waterfall is you have to watch out for the actual waterfall here. A good sniper can immediately peek out and get a snipe through that waterfall in just a couple of seconds. You do have to watch out for that. That's why it's advisable not to actually lane in an area where the sniper can stand or can see you. It would be not advisable to stand here too easily. You can actually maybe get some spots like this just to get some chip damage, but they'll have an easier time seeing you, honestly, in this spot. Don't lane somewhere where it's tougher for you to hit your shots than they can hit theirs. And don't lane in a spot where, you're having to focus multiple angles. Like, are they going to come here? Are they going to be up there? Like, the time that it takes you to travel your aim here, they can get a snipe on you. Basically, they can at least get some chip damage. They might be able to get first shot if they just have primary out, whatnot. So just be very careful. If you see your opponents trying to make a push for special, like I said, running Night Stalker or something like that, nading this out in some way, shape, or form, just watch for when it looks like they might be playing for that special, especially if you know that they have shotguns on preemptively. Now, one final thing I want to show for the middle area is, in fact, this whole area right here. This is a hot zone. It's a kill box, and the reason why is, say that your opponents are pushing you through here, and you're afraid of them simply being over aggressive on you. You're pushed back into spawn. Maybe you're playing a little passively. You can take their strength of their good aggression and use it against them. Boom, lightning nade. As soon as they push, lightning nade them out, and or use some sort of grenade in this area to be able to easily see or easily get them down some hit points and be able to finish them off with your weapons. You can even see right here often enough when they're making some kind of push. You can see all the way to stairs there. You can see when they're making a push. If they're playing fast through that spot, you can generally know that they're going to push all the way up. You can throw a lightning grenade also further back, like back here, and that will shut them out all the way from the stairs and maybe trap them in if they're a little bit closer to you than that. You can also if you really feel the need, throw a lightning grenade here. It's not as effective, especially if your grenades whiff like that, but it is something that you can do, and something that might come into play in select situations. Now, one final thing to watch out for in this kill box spot, obviously, is people pushing here. This is a very bad spot to push from, to be honest with you. It's easier to get manhandled by people playing above you. But it is a nice spot to trick your opponents up some, or perhaps if your opponents are pushing your teammates a little strong, you can just head glitch here and see what you can do. Although I wouldn't recommend it as much. If someone does start to push you very aggressively, you can obviously nade out that spot from there. And you can also, I do not have another nade charge at the moment, back up and nade here as they push you. Obviously, those are kind of, you may be thinking that I'm showing specifically lightning grenade and spike grenade spots. But in general, if you're using arc bolts or bolt type nades, you can just hit the grounds of areas wherever your opponents seem to be. You can also just use skip grenades, bounce stuff off walls. You can use smoke grenades. Really, a variety of nade types can still get the job done, unless you're running like those thermal nades that Sunbreakers exclusively feature. Those are pretty bad nades. Let's not talk about those. But other than that, I suppose it's time to show the final path. So let me get back there. Alrighty, here we are on the bottom path. This path is the path less traveled. It's not as strong on its own. It definitely is a little weak because of the way you have to push up onto your opponents, but it can feature some tricky plays for sure. Obviously, we've already shown right here how if your opponents are pushing up, you can be in this spot. So let's not get into that again. However, not often do your opponents go down here, so often you're unchallenged in this area. And sometimes if they're far enough back, they can't really tell that you're in this spot. You can also just play very aggressive and perhaps push through all the way to up here and get the drop on them. You can also simply do a nice little jump up into this spot. However, if you're doing this, hand cannon may not be as preferable as something like Mida, or something, a pulse would be very strong in this spot. It's about a good medium range, just outside where, you know, hand cannons will probably start to drop off, especially on that aim assist. It's not about the damage drop off here as much as just the aim assist drop off. You won't be able to aim as accurately. Where a pulse will be very favorable here, and even Mida, like I said, or other scout rifles can be very strong. Basically, when I use the word Mida, you can go ahead and substitute scout rifle. Mida is just the only usable scout rifle in my opinion, for the most part. I know that there are a couple other usable ones out there, but I don't ever really feature them myself. But yes, obviously if your opponents are pushing middle path here, this is the time to go along this path. If they're pushing Waterfall area, you almost never want to go here. There would be no reason to go here if they're all pushing Waterfall. Of course, you may not know until into the round that they are doing so. But yes, obviously this path, like I said, it's a path less traveled, very little resistance along this path, and the biggest play for this path is just get the drop on them, push them a little deeper than they might expect, push a different angle than they might expect, make them have to either focus you, or if they're focusing your teammates, which is more often the case, simply be able to get an alternate angle to them and pick them off with good ease. Now, this path isn't exactly a bad path to choose. I don't want to make it sound like it's such a very niche path or a choice path that you never really want to use too much. It definitely is something that can be a good option. I once won a game almost entirely by selecting this path while my teammates selected other paths, or by simply having my entire team push along this way. It definitely is something that can be very strong. Now, if your opponents do challenge you up on this walkway, you can use various nades to get them weak. You can also simply push up here, and if they're back there, you know, nade, stuff like that. It's very versatile. This map is very versatile. You can select these paths, you can do these things, and kind of outplay your opponents. It's all about outplaying your opponent's brain more than about outplaying their gun skill, and is what I'm trying to show you at this moment, or through this video. So honestly, guys, I think I gave some of the general tips and tricks and strategies. It's not always about showing exact head glitches, or I hope I didn't really come across as simply showing off the base map, what everybody already knows. I hope there are some things you learned. In fact, if you walk into the wall here, you can actually see over it. While, oh no, if you sit crouched, you can see over it. All right. Hopefully, I didn't just show you guys the base map, show you what you guys already know. Hopefully, I set into mind some things that you weren't. May not necessarily have been unaware of, but things that you weren't really considering or thinking of. Like a lot of people don't use this bottom path at all. I see that very often. I also want people to be aware ahead of time that of this kill box area. This area is a very, very easily assaulted area, as well as a very easily defended area. And that goes to based upon the nade usage. Like I said, sticky grenades in this meta are very strong, but lightning grenades and spike grenades, specifically on Pantheon here, are very, very versatile, and they can get the job done very often. That nade right there would light up that entire area and damage any opponent that's standing back. You can use it aggressively around corners. There's not really much more to the map that I care to show. You have to take it step by step. If I see some kind of tactics update that I might want to make this weekend, I will go ahead and make a video on it. But I hope I have just, like I said, brought things to light, made you rethink about certain things, make you re-strategize certain things, and hopefully you guys can go flawless, really setting some of these things that may be apparent to some, maybe just under-recognized to others, and really focus on them. like lightning grenade placement and sort of stuff like that. But other than that, guys, this has been Invicta TV, and I'm out. Bye. If you guys are looking to support my work, please head over to patreon.com/InvictaTV. You can subscribe for $5 to participate in a monthly giveaway of $50 or more, as well as earn double the chance on Trials of Osiris raffles over on my Twitch. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate the support.